listening to the Remote Work Europe podcast, the show formerly branded as The Future is Freelance. The name has changed, but our values have not. We're still the podcast for solopreneurs, digital nomads and slowmads, consultants, remote workers, e-residents, and everyone living a life without traditional boundaries. We're here for people who defy categorization, those who make a living and a life their own way, in Europe and beyond. Fortnightly on Fridays, we're serving up expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing and the remote work revolution to help you achieve success with your borderless business and liberated lifestyle, whatever success means to you as you live life on your own terms. Here at Remote Work Europe, we're fortunate enough to be able to choose where we want to live and do the kind of work we want to do from pretty much anywhere that we want to make home. It's easy to forget how lucky that is when so many people in the world have to leave their homes, live in a displaced way. They might have to undertake incredibly difficult journeys, not because they choose to or to upgrade their lifestyle, but simply in order to survive. Remote work brings so many powerful things to our own situations that it's easy to overlook how absolutely life-changing or life-saving remote work could be for people with less born privilege. For me, it was incredibly inspiring to talk to Lorraine from Namal, who is working with refugee populations in Africa and the Middle East to teach them remote work skills which can support them and help them support their families and create lasting careers in a way that's location independent. For people whose lives have been changed by location issues, it's hard to underestimate how powerful this could be. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this interview with Lorraine, and please check the show notes to find out ways that you can get involved with Namal, including volunteering, funding support, and mentorship to help other remote workers enjoy the same kinds of ideas and privileges that we do. So Lorraine, thank you very much for joining us here at the Remote Work Europe podcast. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you. It's really exciting to be here.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning all about the amazing work you're doing at Namal. But before we go there, we love to talk a little bit to our guests first about their own personal journey. How we end up doing the things we do is so unique and fascinating for each person. So please tell us a bit of the Lorraine story first.
Thank you. So I always started to say I'm a reluctant entrepreneur. I didn't set up to have my own startup. I didn't want to have my own business. I didn't want to do any of this, but I was a researcher. I am a researcher. So I was doing research looking at the challenges that refugees faced in the Middle East, looking particularly at that time at Jordan and Turkey and then later Lebanon. And first, I started looking at education, but I became interested in what happens post K-12 education, what happened to refugees after they finished school. And if you look at the funding for higher education, the funding decreases the older the refugees get. So at the time I was doing this research, less than 5% of refugees attended higher education. Now it's a bit higher, and there's a target by UNHCR for 15% by 2030. So I was curious to understand what happened at secondary education. So I started to research livelihoods, wanted to understand what the livelihood contexts were for Syrian refugees in the Middle East. And I spoke to lots of different organizations, and I saw lots of organizations doing great training in digital work. They were becoming coders. They were doing loads of really cool digital stuff. But the context around the Middle East in terms of employment at that time and still now was very challenging for refugees. Refugees didn't have access to employment, legal employment in the countries that hosted them. So refugees in Lebanon don't have access to the labor market. In Jordan, they have limited access. More than Lebanon, but still limited. In Turkey, better than the other two, but still there was a quota of the number of refugees per Turkish national that a company could hire. So I thought, and I have to put a caveat, this was 2015 that I was doing my research. At that time, I was working remotely myself as a researcher. I was doing research with people from different parts of the world, living in the Middle East and doing research with different people. And I was working remotely. So my big recommendation from this research was to reconceptualize employment for refugees, turn it into remote work for refugees. So I wrote an article for the World Economic Forum. At the end, it was published at the end of 2017, of course, written way before that. Remote work for refugees. How can this be true? How can this happen? So initially, I only started to do research, and I went back to Jordan and to Turkey and to Lebanon to do more research, to present research, to talk about this issue. And at that time, I was sort of vaguely interested in sort of who's doing this, what could happen. And the other gap that I saw was there wasn't a focus on the soft skills. So from my research and education, there was a whole lot of conversation around 21st century skills for young people. But this wasn't being translated into refugee programming. So when the programs taught the technical skills, it was only the technical skills. They might mention the soft skills, but it wasn't explicit. And we know that companies are very interested, and perhaps more so, in people that have these soft skills opposed to the technical skills. So these are the two gaps that I saw. Fast forward a couple of years later, I met someone over Skype in those days, way before we had Zoom. And, and she said, well, why aren't we doing something? No one's doing this. We have to form an organization to do this. So that's when the idea of NAML was born. We didn't register for a long time. We had lots of conversations. Again, pre-COVID. No one believe that this is possible. I had lots of conversations. Yeah, interesting idea, not viable, not scalable, not possible. And, so I sort of quietly persisted whilst doing other things in the background. I had lots of conversations, but the remote workspace is the space that sort of found me. And they were captivated by the idea. All the remote workers, so all of you, my audience, you were the first ones to believe it was possible because you were doing it. So it was good that I had confidence bolstered by the remote work community. Laurel Farah and all of the early remote work community really believed in what I was doing. And this is where I thought, there is something to this, because there's a community of companies, of people who were doing it way before the rest of the world woke up to it. And when COVID happened, suddenly my inbox flooded. Suddenly there was interest in my work. Suddenly we had people coming to us. And, so we did our first project in Jordan in 2020 in the midst of COVID, because everyone was remote. So what we were doing seemed normal at the time. Our proposition seemed, this is what everyone is doing. This is what refugees can also do. So that's how I came to the place of doing that.
That's amazing. It's an incredible story. And especially that you started it all, as you said, back before this was a mainstream way of working. Some of us had been doing it for a long time, but we were strange. We were unusual. We were a curiosity. Yes, and people would look at us and think, well, that would never work as a mainstream way. Never mind. That's even affluent Western audiences. And people would say, that's never going to catch on.
Oh, that's not a real job.
Right. Yes. Okay.
You don't have a real job. You're not going into an office. Exactly.
Yes. Heaven spare us from real jobs in that case.
Indeed.
So that's what led on to the foundation of NAML. And what's the origins of that word, first of all? And we'll put all the links in the show notes where people can find out more.
So when I first, when I was talking to to the person that sort of inspired me to found this, we're throwing around the word WeWork, but of course WeWork exists as a company, and we're like, we can't be WeWork. Exactly, don't go there. To the poison.
Don't go there. Yeah.
So we wanted to, so I wanted to have something around work, because that's what we're doing, talking about work. I was living in the Middle East. I'm still sort of part-time in the Middle East. I was in a coffee shop on my phone talking to someone, and then this lovely lady across the table across from me said, "Oh, I heard you talk about refugees. What do you do?" "I'm Syrian." And I said, "Oh, wow." So I told her what I was doing, told her the idea of NAML. I said, "But I'm stuck for a name." And she said, "What about NAML? It means we work in Arabic." And I thought, oh my God, yes. But also AML also means hope. So it's written differently in Arabic, but it sounds the same when you say it, especially English. Amal, hope, and Amal, work. So we hope, we work, play on words. So for me, it was perfect, because I believe work gives hope.
I love that. So the concept of hope is embedded in the phrase "we work."
Exactly.
That's beautiful. So obviously that was back 2020. It feels like an epoch ago now that event happened and the world changed, remote work changed. Where are things at now? What projects are you involved with, and how has it come of age in this strange new world with its more recent refugee crises?
Yeah, so I look back. Someone said to me yesterday, often we look where we are and think we have so far to go, but we don't look back to see how far we've come. And sometimes I forget to look back. I often forget to look back. But when I look back, and now that we're speaking, I look back and I think where we were then and where we are now. In Arabic, we have this with Alhamdulillah. We're growing our team constantly. We have two big projects, one in Kenya and one in Ethiopia. Pretty big projects. And the projects that are happening now will be our second ones. We started in those countries last year. So last year were our first projects in Kenya and Ethiopia. They will be continuing with new funding, same donors, new funding for new projects this year, expanding in Kenya, doing train the trainer as well as training refugee talent. We just graduated our two cohorts of Ethiopia and Kenya a week and a half ago. And it was inspirational to see the learners. The learners they aren't only doing well, they're speaking publicly about their experiences. They're on panels, they're talking about it.
It must be so emotional, actually, to see. I can see that, hear it in your voice.
Yes, extremely. We also have another project, a big research project, a randomized control trial, which is a test trial to understand the impact of digital training on large numbers. So we also have that. That's a global program. And I think most significantly and importantly, we started the NAML agency. And we did this as a result of a few things. So initially, our goal was to provide each and every one of our talent with a job, with an internship post-training. But it proved very, very difficult to get companies to hire the talent. And again, in one of our running remote communities, I was on this sort of mastermind running remote, and I was the one talking about my challenge, with the community helping. And one of the community he says, Lorraine, I won't hire one of your talent, but I'll outsource a project to you. And suddenly I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do. Build the agency and get companies to outsource projects to us. So that's what we did. A month later, we started the NAML agency, literally a month later. So we started in December, the NAML agency with, we have projects doing web dev, digital marketing, digital media, design projects. So quite a wide range of projects. Our refugee talent do the work. Our tech leads are the ones that ensure that the product is delivered to the client, to a level that exceeds the expectations. I always say exceeds because it always does exceed the client's expectations, whilst the talent do the work. So this is how we built a system, provide all of our refugee talent experience. They get paid for the work, get paid, very competitive rates, at least 4 times what they get paid in the country where they live. And they're getting the experience. They often are client facing, so they get the experience speaking to clients. And our goal is with the agency to each of our cohorts of graduates will stay with the agency for a year, get the experience, get some money, and then we want them to go off on their own so we can have new cohorts coming to the agency, because we want to be able to provide our talent with the experience doing the work, but also with...
And it's a career development process for them that hopefully after a year, they might be employed directly, the client they've been working with.
Exactly, yes. So, so we have a number of clients. And in fact, the first client we got, a sort of a UK startup, he was so happy that we have 3 other projects with him ongoing now and 1 more in the pipeline. So this just shows...
That's proof of the pudding.
Exactly.
You might get the first project out of some kind of sympathy or social good notion, but if it's coming back for 3 more projects, then it's absolutely proved the use case.
Exactly, yeah. So and we're always scoping for new projects. We have the capacity, and also we're building our internal capacity so that we can then take on more projects. We have one of our tech leads was one of our alumni. He's sort of on sabbatical now, and then we'll sort of take on another tech lead who is kind of one of our alumni as well for another program that we partner with. We're hiring 2 more of our alumni to work in our Ethiopia program. So we are, again, practicing what we're preaching. We're hiring the people that we train because we know how good they are. And And we feel by doing this, the clients not only get to see
Yeah.
working with the talent, but when they see the talent on our core team, normal emails, they think, okay, yes, we can do this as well.
Yes, this is an organization that feels like it has substance to it and a growing track record now of several years.
Yes.
So that's amazing.
Yes.
So this is the projects in Ethiopia and Kenya. They're working with internally displaced people.
No, refugees. So in Ethiopia, our talent are from Eritrea. We do have some Ethiopians and under-resourced Ethiopians, but Eritrean refugees and a couple of Yemeni refugees. In Kenya, they're from Sudan, South Sudan, DRC, and Somalia. And then we have some under-resourced Kenyans as well.
Amazing. So people are gaining skills and careers that they can maybe one day take back to the place they grew up or take somewhere else.
Exactly.
If they need to.
And I think for me, what's most impressive about our alumni is they all want to give back. When we ask them, what are your ambitions? They don't say, I want to work for Google to make a lot of money. I want to do something, all of their ambition is to support their communities. To do good, to support the world. And for me, that's most inspiring.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Years ago, back when I had proper jobs before I was remote, I worked in community development in London, and the refugee population, and this will give you a sign of the dates, then were mostly Somali. And they were families who fled to London. We did a lot of work with the women there, but what struck me most about these people was their frustration at not being able to work. Not even I was doing remote work then. And also their sheer creativity and enterprisingness, the incredible journeys that they'd gone on. They actually represented the most forward-thinking, the brightest, the most creative, resourceful problem solvers probably of their generation, who'd seen the writing on the wall and got out and got their families out. And it just seemed such a loss to the local economy and to the world in general that they weren't allowed to work. And they had no way to use those skills to support themselves, which was all they wanted to do. It seems that remote work is such a powerful way to unlock that.
Remote work unlocks talent. This talent, often, if we think of refugees, and I want to, because our audience is mostly from Europe, the media portrays this idea that there's a refugee crisis in Europe. I want to say now, there is no refugee crisis in Europe. The refugee crises are the countries that border the countries in conflict. That's where a large number of refugees are. In Kenya alone, there's 600,000 refugees. Has the largest refugee camp in the world, Kakuma refugee camp. In Jordan, there are unregistered, perhaps over a million Syrian refugees. In Lebanon, perhaps a similar number. These are the places that experience refugee crises. Europe does not have a refugee crisis. So I think we have to really stop the negative portrayal of refugees. Refugees don't come to Europe because, we want to live somewhere else. They come because they have no choice. They come because they have no choice and no opportunity. And for me, with remote work, so the refugees I live with are living in relative safety, but often they don't have any opportunity because they live in countries themselves which are under-resourced. So these countries often struggle providing employment for their own population, far less another population. So the opportunities are very limited for the majority, the vast majority. So refugees cross borders to third countries. I say third countries because it's a third country, or there's something as a fourth country they're moving to, because they don't have opportunity where they are. With remote work.
Yes. And for someone to take that final journey across the sea into Europe, how desperate do you need to be?
Exactly. Yes. So with remote work, I want to give people the choice. Remote work gives people the choice to migrate or to stay. And that if they do decide to migrate, they come with skills, with money in their pockets because they've been working remotely.
That's so powerful. And we talk about the power of remote work within Remote Work Europe to unlock lifestyle factors you might not have considered, like a choice to live near a city you love, or within a climate, or near a beach, or things that are more personal, like caring responsibilities or parenting. It's hard for us in our privileged position to really conceive of the life or death difference it might make to be able to feed your family because you have had a chance to learn a skill that will let you earn some hard currency. It must be so inspiring working with people going through that transformation.
Yeah, it's inspiring, but also it just makes me feel privileged to have the opportunity to work with them. I am inspired every day by the talent we work with. Every day I am inspired by them. And I feel that this talent that we don't recognize, and I want to make clear, often it's more than just refugee talent. When people think in Europe, think of people from the Middle East, people from Africa, they have this blanket perception of what they might be like. There is no individual understanding of the talent that's there. And even if we don't think about refugee talent, if we think about regular populations who've been to university, who aren't displaced, there is very little understanding in Europe of the talent that are in these places. So I do feel that many people in Europe have to really leave Europe, go somewhere else. Yes, you want to have your lovely lifestyle in Barcelona or in Gran Canaria, but really you need to understand that there's a lot more to the world than that.
Yes, people need to open their eyes a little bit. And I think, to be fair, in truth, a lot of the people that we work with, they have traveled and they have seen, they might have the privilege of their passport and their education to be able to come back to the safe European cities. But I always find that the people who have traveled and lived in other places, they've managed to abandon that assumption they grew up with, that what's normal for them is normal everywhere, and the same priority, courtesies and norms. You will see such a different world. And that's what refugees traveling from one continent to another, on foot, on the ground, under incredibly different circumstances, must witness so much transformation and inequality and difference.
Yes, but I think we also have to dispel the notion that places in Africa aren't safe. There are places which are not safe, but also there are many European cities that I would not go to. So I think we have to really understand that this is not a European thing being safe and a non-European thing being not safe. I go to Nairobi often. One of my favorite cities. Love that city. It is incredible. Like, so vibrant, so much fun. And I don't feel unsafe there. So I think, and Kenyans are the most talented people that I've met, like incredible people. So I think we have to really understand that Europe isn't the center of the world anymore. We have to decolonize our minds, as my friends and I say, decolonize your mind.
Absolutely. I love that. And getting to collaborate internationally the way that remote work technology now lets us do is the perfect vector to do that. And, so if somebody wanted to work with Namal as an agency to hire the kind of talent you have on offer, give me a pitch now. What kind of talent might be useful for me? If somebody with an organization is listening and they want to recruit, who could you offer them?
If you want a website built, an app, digital marketing, any tech design project, we can do. We have the talent. And also, I think what's important is we want our talent to be exposed to things. Our tech leads are incredibly talented. So even if the talent doesn't have the experience, the tech leads help them get to the level that they need to deliver the client. Sometimes there's more hand-holding than we would like, but we understand that it's a process. And all of the refugee talent, they learn very quickly. So after the first time they've learned it, the second time they really can fly on their own. They really can do it. Any tech work that you need, our talent can do. And for example, one of our talent says she wants to have her own game design, video game design company. So we have talent that can do that. I mean, they're just inspirational.
It does sound incredible. So if I wanted to hire a designer or a developer through Namal, how would I pay them? How would that reach them? How sustainable would it be?
Yeah, so you pay us. So you pay Namal. So it depends. You can either hire the talent directly yourself. They all have ways to be paid. A lot of them have Payoneer. Payoneer is a big global company like PayPal. They could also use PayPal. Also, a lot of them have their own bank accounts in Kenya and Ethiopia. They have their bank accounts. Or often, if you've got a project but you need a team to develop, you hire Namal and we build the team. We work with you to understand your needs and we deliver the project to you. So you have the contract with us as an organization or one of our partners.
And you coordinate all of those moving parts, the different skills that are required. And
exactly. Yeah, because, for a lot of projects, multiple skill sets are needed. So we have those skill sets within our community of talent.
Fantastic. And I wanted to cover off that bit about contracting and payment, because I think that's the thing that still trips people up internationally sometimes. Yes. And I know that Africa is streets ahead of Europe in electronic payment and
Oh my
mobile
goodness.
payments.
Yes.
And people may not
Yes.
realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with someone in Uganda this morning, and I said, in Kenya, I don't know what a Kenyan bill looks like. The whole time I was in Kenya, I have never used it. Everyone uses M-Pesa, which is a digital wallet. You know, you go to the street vendor to buy some mangoes, you pay with M-Pesa. Everything you do, you pay with M-Pesa, or you can use your bank card. But they're miles ahead. And also, for example, I often go out with my friends like, oh, you know, some person says, oh, can you transfer money to me? You have to go, you know, punch in the bank details with M-Pesa. It's linked to your mobile phone. So you literally go to the app, put their mobile phone number in, and you transfer money. So much easier, miles ahead of what we are here.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that in Europe, but now only for the last couple of years, whereas I know Africa has had it because you didn't have the banking infrastructure and the landline infrastructure.
Exactly.
You built that first. And it's just one of those things that's so unevenly distributed still. But with the agency NAMAL in place, then you can deal with the US corporation who wants to know where to send the check to.
Exactly.
Make sure.
Yes, you send the check to us, so then we pay our talent. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. That sounds really perfect. So if people are listening to this in Europe, they might be a remote worker or a digital nomad or an expat. If they're inspired by what they're hearing, how can they support you and spread the word about NAMAL, maybe get involved in your projects or helping people who need to be helped that you're in touch with?
Well, we have a fantastic way for people to get involved. We run a mentorship program, and this is actually perfect for digital nomads, people who work remotely, because we're training our talent in the skills to work remotely. So you are our perfect mentor. And at the graduation, which happened a couple of weeks ago, we had a lot of our mentors speak, and we also had a sort of a celebration for the mentors after. And I was in tears because the mentors, all of them said, you know, the most common thing I heard was, I learned more from my mentee than they learned from me. I am so inspired by them. They are incredible. They're so motivated. All of the mentors were so inspired by their mentees. And we actually built this program not just to support our refugee learners, which obviously is one of our big goals, also to sort of normalize the refugee experience to people who aren't as privileged as I am to work with the refugee talent. So as a mentor, you get matched one-on-one. You work with your mentee for sort of 4 to 5 months. You meet with them twice a month. And we have quite a structured program, a guide. So if the pair needs structure on how to develop the relationship, we have the guide. Or they can go off and do, if the mentee knows what they want, then the mentor can guide them with the mentee taking the lead. But this is a great way for you to actually experience the talent. And what's happened is, which is quite incredible, a lot of the mentors said, well, I've just hired my mentee and his friend to build my website because I was so inspired by them. So I've had a few mentors said, yeah, I've just hired my mentee because I really love what they do. And also we've had 1 or 2 of our mentors who've gone on holiday to where their mentees live so they can meet in person.
Amazing. Well, people do business with people, don't they? If you can facilitate those relationships, those connections to develop, anything can happen. The potential there is just immeasurable.
Exactly.
Oh, it's really exciting. I'm excited already. This is going to be filling in your form, I think, after this.
Yes, please. We would love you to be a mentor, and anyone passionate about sort of supporting untapped talent and sort of understanding more about the world. And when we speak to our mentors, and my team has quite an open dialogue with the mentors, everyone's on a Discord channel, so there's quite a big communication between the team and the mentors, and also the mentors are developing their own community, so the mentors themselves becomes friends. So many of the mentors, they say that their eyes have been opened by what the mentee have experienced, and one person said I went to a meeting after something had happened at work, and then my mentee told me something that had happened, and she said it put my life into perspective.
Yes, I think we often see such a narrow slice of life, even those of us that have taken the time to travel and maybe to go and build a life not in the country we grew up in. We still inevitably narrow our focus and we see what's in front of us, and we get upset by things that, if you're struggling to survive or to feed your family or to find a safe place to settle, it's a completely different perspective. And I think it's healthy to be reminded sometimes how trivial our
Yes.
problems are, even when they threaten to overwhelm us. The problems aren't going to go away, but we can
Yes.
just get them in a little bit of perspective. No one's going to starve here.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I believe everyone should have a mentor. All my team have got mentors. I have a mentor. We really believe in the power of mentorship. So, which is why we really advocate for this part of our program. This is the part of our program that we feel most passionate about because we really believe it transforms lives.
Well, I would love to send some mentors your way from the Remote Work
Yes.
Europe community. Is there a typical mentor? I mean, what kind of things do you look for?
So, because you're mentoring in the sort of professional skills, communication, time management, critical thinking, growth mindset, goal setting, we've got a guide. So really, it's open to anyone.
Right.
Anyone. And the remote work community are especially relevant and important to us because they're doing what our mentees will be aspiring to, building a career that's location independent.
Yes. So they have that in common, whatever their differences in nationality or culture or background. Recognize
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, this is the perfect cohort of mentors for us. We have quite a big mentorship program happening this year and then ongoing with our new programs in Ethiopia and Kenya. We always do mentorship as a core part of our programming.
Okay. And does it work on a cohort basis? Do you recruit at particular times of year?
No, we recruit rolling recruitment, but then obviously we have different start points depending on the availability of the mentors. So it's quite open. But right now, we've got a big program happening right now. So mentors, we need you.
Okay. Well, we'll consider that a call to action. This episode will go live in May 2024. And if you check the show notes for this episode, you will find all the links, both to learn more about NAMAL, but also that form to express interest and raise your hand. Because if, like me, you've looked at the news every night, I mean, maybe, heaven help you, you're a Brit in Europe and your head is hanging in shame to see how vulnerable refugees are treated by institutions and the media around our continent. We have so much privilege here. We have so many accidents of birth. We often struggle with how best to give back, how to help people. There's a sense that you can't help everybody. And it's hard. Not everybody is going to be like Lorraine and dedicate their life to running a program to scale this. But what each one of us can do is help one person. And it's as simple as reaching out your hand digitally as a mentor, as a supporter, make a connection with another human being who will have an incredible story to tell that will probably blow your mind. And as Lorraine was saying, it will get every problem in your life into perspective. But actually, you'll find things that you learn from them just as you're helping to make a difference in their life and possibly their families' lives, their future generations, and the local community, that they may even be able to go back to their home community one day and cascade that benefit. So really powerful. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, a final inspiration to take action on this today?
Oh my goodness. I always want to maybe end with a story, but I can't decide which story to leave with because there's so many amazing stories. Oh goodness. Okay, so perhaps actually yesterday was, the last few weeks have been quite big weeks for lots of stuff happening. But yesterday we launched one of our reports, a report on digital livelihoods for refugees. And we had a panel of refugee panelists from our Kenya program. And we had a few technical issues. Of course, you can't have a webinar without a technical issue. Each of them was so inspirational. One of them was part of the first dev team that did our first project. She was the only female on the dev team. She is doing her second project with us now, but she has become confident in speaking. She's speaking on public panel. She spoke at an in-person event in Nairobi International Conference. She spoke at our webinar, which was a global event. So inspired by her. We also, a potential donor that's interested in working with us, we're visiting Nairobi and Addis, and they went to see our programs. They were so inspired by the learners and what they've done that they said to us, we want to fund your work. So I think our talent are the people that have been through our programs. They are best, that's our best advertisement because they really represent what is possible. They really represent the dream that all of us in our team have. That opportunity, opportunity isn't everywhere, but talent is everywhere. Talent is everywhere.
And if we can just help to level out the opportunities just a little bit, that talent will thrive and inspire and grow. And what amazing work to be doing. It's been a great privilege to hear about this from you, Lorraine. I'm so grateful that you shared this with the Remote Work Europe community. And I really hope that some people listening to this will be inspired to check out those links, find out more, read the report that you just mentioned. I will pop that link in the show notes as well. And just maybe some people who want to get involved directly. I really, really hope so.
Yes, please. We encourage all of you to please get involved. Please be a mentor. And we have lots of serial mentors. Mentors come back again and again. We have many who are on the fourth time mentoring with us. So it is life-changing. People do love the experience.
It sounds mutually incredibly inspiring and rewarding. So let's make it happen. Lorraine, thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Maya. It's been my pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
You've been listening to the Remote Work Europe podcast, brought to you by remoteworkeurope.eu. We bring you community, information, training, coaching, and more to help you achieve your location-independent lifestyle in Europe and beyond as an employee, entrepreneur, freelancer, or whatever you want to be. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts. If you really liked it, we'd appreciate a review as well. Here's to your remote work success in Europe and around the world.